travel from my native rabbi to Kaloleni, a distance of only 4 hours. So you can imagine what they would have to say. They would speak for many years if they were discussing my trip to Nairobi on a choo-choo train. Hey. Ndio mimi huyo Sefa Zaida Amadi, a 15-year-old Pokomo girl on that trip. So you must be wondering, I am sure, what was I doing on that trip? Vumilivu hula. Vumilivu nitawaeleza. Hey. When I was 12, my parents, they got a message that they said they could not ignore. And the message was that the witch doctors, they needed me as a sacrifice. Now I am sure even today you understand what they were really looking for. Why they always ask for a young girl as their sacrifice. They wanted me as their sexual I was 12, but I knew. So I cried and nobody could keep my mouth shut. I cried, Salale, I cried. Nikapiga nduru na kwambia nilipiga nduru. Until my mother's heart was broken, and my mother, she smuggled me out to a reverend who was building a church there in Rabai. And his name was Reverend W.S. Brighton. And she begged this reverend to save me. And he said yes, he was a man of God. These backward traditions, he could not see me live like that. And so he took me to his house. And I lived in his house with him and his wife. And I worked. And I worked. And I worked. And then 3 years later, Reverend Brighter's nephew akatoka Ulaya to visit the good Reverend. And that night I cooked for them. And I served them this thing you like to drink. And that nephew, he broke into my room and he raped me through the night. In the morning, I went to Mrs. Brighton to cry. And she listened. And she told me to wait. And I waited. I don't know. Maybe it was because of the shame. But what they decided, her and Reverend Brighton, was to send me to Nairobi to live with a Christian friend of theirs, an Indian. In those days, I did not even know an Indian can be a Christian. Maybe some of you don't even know that today. His name was Brother Paul Manubai Sejani. The same Sejani is, if you know Ziwani, who owned the Sejani corner store. that is how I, Sefa, Zaida Amadi, 15-year-old girl, got on that choo-choo train, choo-choo, all the way to Nairobi. I knew at that time, because it had been 3 months from the time the man had raped me to the time the arrangements had been completed and for me to go to Nairobi, I knew I was expecting a child. But when you're young, somehow, the thought in my head at that time was a good one. It was positive. I thought, I will show them back in Rabat. I am going to have a half-white child. I will show them back in Rabat. I am going to raise this child. And so, I arrive in Nairobi. And I go to Paul Manubai Sajani's house, where he lived with his wife and children, and his brother and children, and his other brother and children and parents. It's a big house with very many people. And my work was to cook and to clean and to wash and do anything I was told to do. I worked, and I worked, and I worked, and I worked. The only thing I did not know at that time was that during the arrangements with W.S. Brighton and Bwana Paul Manubai Sajani, I did not know that in their conversation, what Manubai Sajani had understood was that I was the kind of girl who could not keep her legs together. So, the men in the house, they used me as their plaything. Night after night. And that's how it was. And one night, I woke up and I had pains in my bed. Such pains in my belly. I shared a bed with Marwana. Marwana was an old woman who also worked in the house. Marwana akanisaidia na mitishamba, yani traditional herbs. And I drank them. And they caused even more pain until I bled. And I lost my baby. Kistajabu ya Musa utaona ya? Hey! In the morning, when Marwana went in and said she is too sick to come to work today, he told Manubai Sajani's wife that I had lost a baby. That same woman came to the door. She said, hey, if you are thinking, you are going to stay here and not work. You've got another thing coming. Get out. Get out. Hey. I left the house. I had nothing. And I walked and walked and walked mpaka nikafika huko Karioko. Karioko, named after the Kariokos, the British Army. I remember sitting